Ever stood there staring at a clogged toilet, water rising slow toward the rim, and your first thought is to grab the phone and call a plumber? I get it. But here's the thing. 9 times out of 10, that clog you're panicking over is something you can fix yourself without spending a single dollar. After 3 decades in the trade, I've cleared more toilets than I can count, and most of the time I never even reached for a plunger. Today, I'm walking you through 5 trade secrets plumbers actually use to clear toilet clogs, techniques that cost you nothing and work better than you'd expect. Number 4 is one I've seen stump even experienced do-it-yourselfers, and the bonus tip at the end is something most people have never even considered. So let's get into it. The first trade secret, and honestly, the one I wish every homeowner knew, is the hot water and dish soap method. Now, before you do anything else, before you plunge, before you panic, before you even think about calling somebody, try this. Go to your kitchen, grab your regular dish soap, and squirt a generous amount right into the toilet bowl. I'm talking a good long squeeze, maybe a quarter of the bottle's worth. You want it sitting right down there in the water. Then fill a bucket or a large pot with hot water from your tap. And I need to stress this part. Hot water from the tap, not boiling water. Never pour boiling water into a toilet bowl. Porcelain does not handle thermal shock well, and I've seen bowls crack right down the side from boiling water. That's a mess you do not want to clean up, trust me. So hot tap water, as hot as your faucet will go. Now pour that water into the bowl from about waist height. You want some force behind it, but you're not trying to splash. The combination of the hot water and the soap does 2 things at once. The heat softens whatever is causing the blockage, usually compacted toilet paper or organic waste, and the soap acts as a lubricant, reducing the friction between the clog and the inside of the trapway. That's the curved channel inside the base of your toilet where most clogs get stuck. Give it about 10 to 15 minutes to work. Walk away, make yourself a cup of coffee, let the chemistry do its job. When you come back, 9 times out of 10, that water level has dropped and the clog has slid right through. If the water has gone down but it's still draining slow, repeat the process one more time. This works on the most common type of household toilet clog, which is just too much toilet paper or waste that didn't break down fast enough. Plumbers know this trick. Most of them try it first before they ever pull a tool out of the van. The second technique is what I call the bucket flush, and it's pure physics. When your toilet flushes normally, it relies on a specific volume of water, dropping from the tank into the bowl at a specific speed. That rush of water is what creates the siphon effect that pulls everything down and through the trap. But when you've got a partial blockage, that normal flush doesn't generate enough force to push the clog past the bend. So here's what you do. Take a large bucket, 5-gallon if you've got one, and fill it with water. Regular temperature is fine for this one. Now lift that bucket up to about waist or chest height and pour the water directly into the bowl in one steady, continuous pour. Not a trickle. You want volume and velocity. What you're doing is manually recreating that siphon effect, but with more water and more force than the tank alone can provide. The weight of the water column pressing down from above pushes against the clog with real hydraulic pressure. I've seen this clear partial blockages that a plunger barely budged. The key is committing to the pour. Don't hesitate halfway through because you need that continuous column of water to maintain pressure on the obstruction. If the bowl is already full to the rim, you'll want to wait or bail out some water first, so you've got room. Use a disposable cup and a bucket to bring the water level down to about halfway before you attempt this. One more thing. If you're dealing with a toilet that's been running slow for days, this technique is especially effective because those partial blockages respond well to sudden pressure changes. It's free, it's fast, and it's exactly what a plumber would try before pulling out the auger. The third trade secret is one that sounds a little strange until you see it work, and that's the plastic wrap pressure method. This is a genuine trick I picked up from an old timer on a commercial job years ago, and it's one of those things that makes you wonder why nobody talks about it. Here's the concept. You're going to seal the top of the toilet bowl completely with plastic wrap, creating an airtight seal, and then use the toilet's own flush mechanism to build air pressure that forces the clog downward. Start by drying the rim of the bowl with a towel so the plastic wrap will stick. Then layer 3 or 4 sheets of regular kitchen plastic, wrap across the entire top of the bowl, pressing the edges down firmly all the way around the rim so you've got a tight seal. Make sure there are no gaps. Once it's sealed, flush the toilet using the handle. The water will try to rise into the bowl as it normally does, but because the top is sealed, the air trapped between the water surface and the plastic wrap gets compressed. You'll see the plastic wrap start to dome upward as the pressure builds. Now press down firmly on that dome of plastic wrap with both hands, pushing that trapped air pressure straight down into the bowl and against the clog. You're essentially creating a pneumatic push, the same principle behind the expensive blowbag tools plumbers carry. The trapped air has nowhere to go except down through the trapway, and it forces the clog through with it. This technique works surprisingly well on stubborn, soft blockages that the hot water method didn't fully clear. It takes a little patience to get the seal right, but once you do, the results are impressive. I'll tell you, the first time I saw somebody do this on a job site, I thought they were pulling my leg. Then the toilet flushed clean, and I never doubted it again. By the way, if you're finding this advice helpful, do me a small favor and hit that subscribe button down below. I put out new videos like this one every week, walking you through repairs that'll save you a small fortune in plumber bills. Subscribing is free, and it's the best way to make sure you don't miss the next one. All right, let's continue. The fourth technique on our list is the wire hanger snake, and this is where we move from gentle persuasion to direct intervention. Every house has a wire coat hanger somewhere, and that simple piece of wire can do the same job as a closet auger, which is the specialized tool plumbers use to physically reach into the toilet trap and break up or extract a clog. Here's how you make it work. Take a standard wire coat hanger and untwist it at the hook until you've got one long, mostly straight piece of wire. On the end, you'll be inserting into the toilet. Bend a small loop or hook, about the size of a dime. Then wrap that end with a rag or a few layers of electrical tape. This is important. Bare wire will scratch the porcelain glaze inside the trapway, and once that glaze is scratched, waste and minerals will catch on the rough spot and you'll get repeat clogs in the same place. So always pad that end. Now feed the padded end into the drain opening at the bottom of the bowl and gently push it through the trapway. You'll feel resistance when you reach the bend. Work it slowly, using a gentle twisting motion, the same way you'd work a drain snake. The goal is either to break up the clog so it can flush through, or to hook onto whatever is causing the blockage and pull it back out. This is especially useful when the clog isn't just toilet paper. Kids' toys, excessive wipes, cotton products, things that don't dissolve are usually sitting right in that first bend of the trap, only about 6 to 8 inches from the bowl opening. A hanger can reach them easily. Now listen, I want to be honest with you. This is the one technique where you need to go slow and be patient. If you force the wire, you can scratch the porcelain or push the obstruction further into the line where it becomes a bigger problem. Gentle pressure and a twisting motion. Take your time on this one. If you feel something solid that won't budge after a few minutes of careful work, that's when you know the clog might be beyond the trap, and that's when a professional with a powered auger makes sense. But for 90% of object-based clogs, this free method gets the job done. The fifth and final trade secret is what I call the two-stage patience method. And between you and me, this is the one plumbers rarely admit to using because it doesn't sound impressive. But it works. Here's the situation. You've got a stubborn clog. Maybe you tried the hot water and soap, maybe you tried the bucket flush, and the water level dropped a little, but the toilet still isn't draining right. Most people's instinct at this point is to escalate. Call the plumber, rent a snake, start throwing money at the problem. But here's what a lot of experienced plumbers actually do when they're not on the clock. They wait. Stage 1 is simple. Pour a generous amount of dish soap into the bowl. Add hot tap water until the bowl is about 3/4 full, and then walk away. Leave it overnight. I mean it. 8 hours minimum. Overnight is ideal. What's happening during those hours is that the hot water and soap are slowly saturating and softening the clog material. Toilet paper, even the thick premium stuff, will eventually break down when it's submerged long enough. Organic waste does the same. Time is doing the work that force couldn't. Stage 2 happens the next morning. Come back, pour another bucket of hot water from waist height into the bowl, and in most cases, the whole thing clears right out. The overnight soak weakened the clog structure, and the fresh rush of water finishes the job. I've seen this technique clear clogs that homeowners had been fighting with a plunger for 2 days. The trick is simply having the patience to let it sit. Plumbers on emergency calls don't have the luxury of waiting 8 hours, which is why they go straight to the auger. But you do have that luxury, and it costs you absolutely nothing. I've used this in my own house more times than I can count. My wife used to laugh at me for just leaving it overnight, but she stopped laughing when it worked every single time. All right, now for the bonus tip I've been holding on to, and this one is about prevention, which is worth more than any fix. Here's something most people never think about. The single biggest cause of toilet clogs in residential homes isn't what you'd expect. It's not too much waste. It's not kids flushing toys, although that happens. It's the toilet paper itself, specifically how much people use and how they bunch it up. When you wad toilet paper into a big compressed ball, it doesn't break down the way it's designed to. Toilet paper is engineered to dissolve when it's loose and saturated with water. A tight wad of it acts almost like a plug. The old-timers used to say, "Fold it, don't wad it," and they were right. Folded sheets break apart quickly in water. Wadded clumps hold together and get wedged right in that trap bend. If you're someone who deals with repeat clogs, before you blame the toilet, before you blame the plumbing, change how you use the paper. Fold instead of wad. Flush once midway through if needed, and you'll cut your clog frequency down dramatically. It sounds almost too simple, but I've given this advice to neighbors who were ready to replace their toilets, and every one of them came back and told me the problem disappeared. That's how my Uncle Ray taught me, and that's how I'm teaching you. Before you go, if you got something out of this video, do me one last favor and hit that subscribe button. I put out new videos every week covering real-world plumbing repairs, money-saving tips, and the kind of know-how that takes years to pick up on the job. Subscribing costs you nothing, and it makes sure these videos show up in your feed when you need them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.